So hello again, my dearest students. And so this is the continuation of lesson 3 in strategic management subject about the development concepts. Here we will discuss the resource-based view or the RBV and the value chain analysis VCA. So let's start with the resource-based view. So the first question is, what makes your business unique? So yan yung pag-uusapan natin ngayon because the resource-based view and the value chain analysis, it pertains to the competitive advantage of the business or the organization. Okay? Ano nga ba ang unique sa mga organization? Let me define first the resource-based view or the RBV. Resource-based view is a model that sees resources as key to superior firm performance. And it is an approach to achieving competitive advantage. So this model actually emerged in 1980s and 1990s. So the supporters of this view argue that organizations should look inside the company to find the resources or the sources of competitive advantage instead of looking at competitive environment for it. So as the term describe, the resource, this is more on the internal environment of the organizations. What are the resources the organizations can use for its competitive advantage? So RBV is an approach to competitive advantage contends that internal resources are more important for a firm than external factors in achieving and sustaining competitive advantage. Proponents of the RBV viewed contend that organizational performance will be determined by internal sources that can be grouped into three all-encompassing categories. We have the physical resources, the human resources, and organizational resources. Pag sinabi nating physical resources, ang kasama syempre dito yung plant and equipment, location, technology, raw materials, and machines or machineries. Siyempre, pagdating sa human resources, we have the employees, yung training and experiences nila, including yung intelligence, the knowledge and the skills, also the abilities of the employees. And when we are talking about organizational resources, it includes a firm structure, planning processes, information systems, patents, trademarks, copyrights, and so on. So RBV theory asserts that resources are actually what helps a firm exploit opportunities and neutralize threats. So the basic premise of the RBV is that the mix, type, amount, and the nature of a firm's internal resources should be considered first and foremost in devising strategies that can lead to sustainable competitive advantage. So managing strategically according to the RBV involves developing and exploiting a firm's unique resources and capabilities, and continually maintaining and strengthening those resources. Okay, so the theory asserts that it is advantageous for a firm to pursue a strategy that is not currently being implemented by any competing firm. When other firms are unable to duplicate a particular strategy, then the focal firm has a sustainable competitive advantage according to the RBV theorist. That's why the first question we posted is, what makes the products or services unique? For a resource to be valuable, it must be either rare, it should be rare, hard to imitate, or not easily substitutable. So these are often called the empirical indicators. Yan yung 3 characteristics of resources. Enable a firm to implement strategies that improve its efficiency and effectiveness and lead to a sustainable competitive advantage. So take note that the firm or the products, nagiging valuable lang siya when we have these 3 characteristics. It should be rare, hard to imitate, and not easily substitutable. So this is the model of the RBV that emphasizes the key points. So first is resource-based view relies on the resources. Our resources, it's either tangible or intangible. So alam ko namang alam nyo ang difference ng tangible and intangible assets. When we are talking tangible assets, that is the physical things like land, buildings, machinery, equipment, etc. While intangible assets are everything else that has no physical presence, okay, but actually owned by the company. Example is the brand reputation, trademarks, intellectual property, etc. So the 2 critical assumptions of the RBV are that resources must be also be heterogeneous or immobile. Heterogeneous and immobile. So pag sinabi natin heterogeneous, the first assumption is that skills, capabilities, and other resources that organizations possesses differ from one company to another. So if organizations would have the same amount and mix of resources, they would not employ different strategies to outcompete each other. What one company would do, the other could simply follow and no competitive advantage could be achieved. So the products and services must be only one offered to the market, or at least there is something different from the other competing products. Example natin is the competition between Apple Incorporated and the Samsung Electronics. Diba? The 2 companies that operate in the same industry thus are exposed to the same external forces, can achieve a different organizational performance due to the difference in resources. So alam natin, iba ang features na ino-offered ng Apple to the features offered by Samsung. Even though they are competing in the same products like tablets and smartphones, diba? So meron pa ring differences. So Samsung does not follow the same strategy as the Apple applies. That is for the heterogeneous. When we are talking about immobile, the second assumptions of RBV is that resources are not mobile and do not move from company to company. So at least in short run, due to this immobility, companies cannot replicate rivals' resources and implement the same strategies. So intangible resources such as the brand equity, processes, knowledge, or intellectual property are usually immobile. The next one is the VRIO resources. Although having heterogeneous and immobile resources is critical in achieving competitive advantage, it is not enough alone if the firm wants to sustain it. So according to Barney, 1991, he has identified a VRIN framework that examines if resources are valuable, rare, costly to imitate, and non-substitutable. So we have this framework to test if the resources or the services has an competitive advantage, or at least can sustain the competitive advantage. So if the answers of these questions are yes, then we can have, or we can conclude that the products or services are sustained competitive advantage. So is the resource or the capability valuable? If yes, is it rare? If yes, costly to imitate? If yes, organized to capture value? Then we can say it is sustained competitive advantage. Okay. So that is how we view the VRV, or the resource-based view. The next one is about the value chain analysis. According to Porter, the business of a firm can best be described as a value chain in which total revenues minus total cost of all activities undertaken to develop and market a product or service yields a value. So all firms in a given industry have a similar value chain, which includes activities such as obtaining raw materials, designing products, building manufacturing facilities, developing cooperative agreements, and providing customer service. So a firm will be profitable as long as the total revenues exceeds the total costs. Diba? So a firm should strive to understand not only their own value chain operations, but also their competitors, the suppliers, and distributors of value chains. So what is the value chain? Value chain analysis refers to the process whereby a firm determines the costs associated with organizational activities, from purchasing raw materials to manufacturing products to marketing those products. The value chain analysis aims to identify where low-cost advantages or disadvantages exist anywhere along the value chain, from raw materials to customer service activities. So the VCA can enable a firm to better identify its own strengths and weaknesses, especially as compared to competitors' of value chain analysis and their own data examined over time. So substantial judgment may be required in performing a VCA because different items along the value chain may impact other items positively or negatively. So there exist complex interrelationships. For example, exceptional customer service may be especially expensive, yet may reduce the cost of returns and increase revenues. Or cost and price differences among rival firms can have their origins in activities performed by suppliers, distributors, creditors, or even stakeholders. So despite the complexity of BCA, the initial step in implementing this procedure is to first divide the firm's operations into specific activities or business processes, attach a cost to each discrete activity. So the cost could be in terms of both time and money. And finally, converts the cost data into information by looking for competitive cost strengths and weaknesses that may yield competitive advantage or a disadvantage. So conducting a VCA is supportive of the RBV, the resource-based views, examination of the firm's assets and capabilities as a sources of distinctive competence. So when a major competitor or new market entrant offers products or services at very low prices, this may be because the firm has sustainably lower value chain costs, or perhaps the rival firm is just wagging a desperate attempt to gain sales or market share. Siyempre, the value chain analysis can be critically important for a firm in monitoring whether its prices and costs are competitive. So that's why the value chain analysis is important for every organizations. Dahil nagbibigay din siya ng signals, especially if the new entrants has a lower prices than your products and services. So for a better understanding of BCA, we have an example, the Starbucks coffee. Even though wala tayong Starbucks here in San Jose or here in Occidental Mindoro, I know everyone's familiar with the company. So when we are talking about international beverage stores, Starbucks has to be one of the first names that comes to our minds. Tama? Though if you want to know more about the primary and secondary activities of the company, then ang madali nating tingnan is the value chain analysis. So the value chain analysis will help us identify the value provided by the brand on different channels, giving it a competitive edge. So yan yung titingnan natin ngayon. So for the example of the value chain analysis of the Starbucks, we have this diagram. As you can see, we have the two parts, the support activities and the primary activities. For the primary activities, we have the inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and the services. For the support activities, we have the firm infrastructure, human resource management, technology development, and the procurement. And these all supports with the margin. Let us first identify the objective of the Starbucks. The Starbucks aimed to be the leading retailer and brand of coffee in each of the target markets by selling the finest quality coffee and related products, and by providing each customer a unique Starbucks experience. Okay, so let us discuss one by one the primary activities of the Starbucks. So to do a value chain analysis of Starbucks, we have to consider the logistics for its coffee beans and other products. So most of the unroasted coffee beans from Starbucks owned farms from Asia, Africa, and South America. The coffee beans are carefully picked from the farms and are transported to the Starbucks facility for storage and refinement. They undergo a proprietary roasting technique by Starbucks that increases the shelf life of beans. After that, the beans are packed and are sent to distribution. To maintain the quality of coffee beans, the company relies on its native suppliers and does not involve any third-party vendors as of now. So, syempre yan yung main product nila, 'di ba? So, coffee, dahil sila ay coffee shops, so kailangan talaga mabusisi sila in terms of the coffee beans. Kasi syempre, kung may iba yung lasa na ng coffee beans, definitely, maghahanap ng ibang lasa yung customers. So for the next operation, unlike other popular beverage or fast food outlets, Starbucks does not support a franchise system. So meaning, ang Starbucks outlets ay either owned by the company or are monitored by it. So as of now, the company has more than 32,000 stores in around 83 countries worldwide. It has noted that around 80% of revenue Starbucks is generated by company-owned stores, and the remaining part comes from its monitored facilities and sister brands. Outbound logistics. So when we consider the overall Starbucks value chain analysis, we won't find much in its outbound logistics kasi nga wala namang franchise distributor si Starbucks. So most of the products offered by the Starbucks are sold via its stores worldwide. So though a while back, Starbucks came up with options to sell single origin coffee beans in the US. So apart from beverages, one can also get all kinds of snacks, diba? Baking items, they have cakes and pastries and company products like mugs, tumblers. We also have the marketing and sales. So Starbucks is known to have one of the most aggressive marketing strategies in the industry. A substantial amount is invested by the company to maintain the highest standard of customer satisfaction in sales. So apart from on-ground marketing, syempre sa Starbucks also has a significant online presence on various social media platforms. So it keeps coming up with dedicated marketing plans for product launches, new establishments, and other events. The last one is the service. As per the company reports of Starbucks, the brand has mentioned the objectives yung binasa natin kanina. So sabi nila, ang objectives nila is to sell the finest quality coffee and related products and also providing a customer a unique Starbucks experience. And syempre, they are true with their objective, di ba? So apart from its high quality beverages, the brand also invests in the service training of baristas as they provide a unique experience to customers while making and serving their drinks. So another part of the value chain analysis ni Starbucks is the support activities. And the first one is about the infrastructure. So since Starbucks has been around for almost 5 decades, it has a strong infrastructure in almost every department like finance, management, marketing, and so on. The main corporate office of Starbucks is in Seattle, but the company has several other regional corporate offices worldwide. Aside from that infrastructure, they also have human resource management, a strong human resource management. Starbucks has over 349,000 employees worldwide. Diba? So, it includes, syempre, baristas, brewing staff, corporate employees, and so on. So, according to a recent survey, Starbucks has an employee satisfaction rate of 82%. So it is actually one of the highest in the food and service industry. So the company is widely known to have a pleasant working environment and takes care of its employee with friendly policy. Their human resource management team has also worked on elevating its culture and improving the retention rate by keeping its staff motivated. So another support activities is the technology department. Starbucks has kept up with the ongoing technological advancements in the foods and beverage industry. The company uses the best-in-class techniques to make the process of selecting coffee beans and brewing drinks in different locations. Of course, yung high-speed Wi-Fi nila, it helps for the customers who work from their coffee shops. Diba? So, it attracts more customers. Another one is the procurement. So, you might already know the procurement involvement. Diba? Kailangan nila ng high quality beans. So when we consider the Starbucks value chain analysis, most of its procurement comes from in-house sources. So as listed above, Starbucks doesn't buy coffee beans from third-party sources. From the production of coffee beans to their packaging, everything is handled in-house. Not just that, the brand does not give franchises, and all the stores and directly or indirectly controlled by Starbucks. So, ganun kaya katindi ang quality control of the Starbucks in terms of their products or the coffee beans itself. So that ends the value chain analysis and the topic for this recorded video. So for your activity, synthesize the story of a company of your choice. So bahala po kayong pumili kung anong ang company ang gusto nyong i-study. But you need to include the VMGO, the core values, strategies, and action plan of that company, and mentioned at least 2 or 3 strategies they employed. It would be best if you also discuss the RBV and BCA of the company. Make it a brief, concise, and short. Okay? So for this activity, you may form groups with 3 to 4 members. Any questions, you may post it on our Google Classroom or in our group chats. Thank you for listening and See you again next time. Bye.